Hey, welcome, Dr. Dave here. And one of the top questions that I get is how do I get into a better shoe that's healthier for my feet? And in that same line, how do I transition down to a minimalist shoe? That's a term that is defining less support in the shoe. So people want to know, how do we transition to that? And the better question, actually, is to ask yourself, where are you? And where do you want to go? Instead of just saying, oh, this shoe is probably the right one for me, you need to do a little bit of a self-assessment, which is what we're going to go over today. We're going to match that with the shoes and then also talk about what you can do to help prevent injury, to help prevent all of the problems that can happen when doing something that we're not used to, right? Anytime we engage into maybe a new exercise routine, if we don't know how to move properly and those sorts of things, they can set us up for a higher risk of injury. So we want to prevent that today. We're going to show you how to do that. So let's get started. The beginning stages is learning where you actually are. Broken, unbalanced, I'm good, or optimized. The way that you can know this is if you're in the broken state, it's really painful to just step down onto the ground without shoes. These are the people who have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. It takes them a half an hour to get going. Maybe they have severe sharp pain or some sort of tendon tear. There's all sorts of different things that fit into this type of category. The second category is unbalanced. These are the people who tend to have a nagging type of pain. In other words, they still go out for a run, they still do their activities, but they can have some kickback from it. They can have a little bit of swelling, a little bit of inflammation, a little bit of redness, tenderness, soreness in the bottom of the foot, or even things like plantar fasciitis symptoms kind of coming and going. They can't quite figure it out. That's the unbalanced stage. The I'm good stage, this is where most people are. This is the biggest percentage of the population. I'm good is the general term that people say to me when I ask them how their foot health is. They just say, I'm good. But the reality is a lot of times they're tight and sore. So if they go out for a workout, they come back and it takes them a little while to recover. If they step out onto the ground barefoot, they can feel it. And they're uncomfortable going on barefoot on different surfaces. They're uncomfortable going barefoot in the grass. They're uncomfortable stepping on uneven terrain. So the I'm good phase is a majority of the population, because in the optimized state, you should be able to go barefoot on rocks and it actually feels good. The other big thing is the recovery standpoint. If you're optimized, you should be able to do something like sprain your ankle and immediately bounce back from it. Like within 2 weeks, you feel normal again. That is a sign of an optimized foot health type of person, where even if they do have a setback, it doesn't hold them back at all. They recover quickly. They can do things barefoot. They can jump around and do any type of activity that they want without feeling it, other than the normal workout soreness stuff. So this is learning where we are. This is the type of shoe that typically fits with those categories. Now, in this one, we have orthotics, we have heavy stability, so big, thick motion control shoes where the shoes are beefed up all the way around. Double stability, so things like Brooks Company, a couple other companies that actually have extra layers on the inside, and you can see this as a big thickness on the inside of the heel. The unbalanced stage, people tend to just naturally feel well in a regular athletic shoe that has arch support and stability. The I'm good phase, we should be working, and we're going to start talking transitional stuff here. We should be working our way to a minimalist type of shoe that has a wide toe box and there's no cushion involved in there. That's how you get, and this is part of the transition, that's how you get to the healthier style of feet. Now, the optimized we'll get into is Vibrams. And for those of you who haven't seen the Vibram 5 fingers, we'll get them nice and close. They've got room for all your toes in there. This is optimized because it allows your toes to do certain things. You get a lot of neurological feedback that you don't get in a minimalist sandal or shoe. And so the optimized state is this Vibram. And I'll get to this 10% rule in a second, but I'm going to jump back up through here so that we understand what I'm talking about as a transition. So in general, orthotics is a massive industry that I personally don't believe in, except for about 4% of the population. This is what research has shown time and time again. In my office, there would be people who would come in that surgically had bones removed. They had vets that were missing things, diabetics missing half of their foot. Orthotics, great. Yep, we need some support. We need to do things in there. Also, from a pain management standpoint, you can temporarily stick an orthotic in someone's shoes, but it should not be for long term. We're talking very short amount of time to get someone out of pain so that they can actually improve their progress, because this actually becomes extremely unhealthy when you start to chase the orthotic realm. And if you're getting more and more orthotics as time goes on, that's a sign that no one is teaching you the right things to do. Whole nother conversation. But ideally, people who are in this broken, we want to get into as quickly as possible the stability type of shoe. This is an athletic shoe that can be comfortable for them, but essentially at the same time, we have to improve mobility and strength to get out of the orthotic, get out of pain, get out of the dysfunction that we have, so that we feel comfortable in this type of shoe. In general, that can take anywhere from 10 days to 3 months. It really depends on how aggressively you're doing this type of stuff. Okay, from stability to minimalist shoe, we have to focus on mobility and strength. If you want to imagine you've been locked into a tight shoe for a majority of your life, and say you're 30 years old, so let's just assume 25 years of your life you've been wearing shoes that have been too narrow for your feet, that makes you weak, that makes you tight. And so you have to expand that in order to get into the minimalist type of shoe. If you're not doing this type of stuff, you will be uncomfortable getting into a minimalist shoe. And even further, if you try to work your way down here, and this was an issue that we saw in our private practice, is that people were jumping from here to here, and some of them were successful, but a vast majority of them were very uncomfortable in the Vibrams or very uncomfortable in the minimal shoes. Now, you can work your way into this by doing this purely just from flipping the shoes back and forth, right? But what I would suggest is that you actually follow a program. And this is where we've created different programs for you guys to be able to do this so that you can successfully transition through. But I'm not going to talk about that stuff right now. You can definitely go check it out. But the essentials is this. You have to increase the mobility and strength during this transition. 10% rule down here. 10% of the population stays in pain because they were born to be super flexible. So these are the people who, these were my previous cheerleaders. These are my people who don't feel anything from yoga stretches. These are the people who bend down, touch their toes, and feel like they can never get a good stretch. So if you've been flexible your whole life and you have no idea why, if you get into a stretching position and you feel like you've never stretched before, if you feel like you have loose joints, there's also some ligament conditions that qualify for this. You need to jump immediately down to as minimalist as possible and as healthy as possible, because that's actually what will fix you. That's what will help you in the long run, and you will feel immediate relief from this. There's no transition needed. Your body just is craving this, and the strength and mobility will come along with it, but it immediately takes people out of pain. Most of the times, people who have knee pain that are in this category need to switch to this right away, and it unpinches their knee. Their sharp knee pain immediately goes away. So, but like I said, that's just a small percentage rule, but I like to point that out because there is people out there like that, probably watching this video. So that is the general transition. We want to figure out where you are, figure out where you are in here, figure out your strategy, increasing your mobility and strength to start working towards this healthier lifestyle. And by all means, this is a massive improvement in your health. Just to get to this category is a big step in the right direction. We're talking like relieving back tension, relieving knee tension, relieving stress, increasing blood flow. Like the list just goes on why you would actually want to do this model. So I hope that helps. Reach out with questions below. Personal message me, direct message me, whatever you want to do. We hope to help you and find the right solution for you. Take care.